exploring the link between the economic downturn and crime.
59% of the surveyed population indicated that they were employed.
We've got the findings of the latest study. How does your water bill compare to neighbors in the Caribbean?
But we're about midway.
The Ministry of Education in desperate need of specialty teachers. Plus, could increasing emotional intelligence be a way to address violent behavior? One expert says yes.
So every single aspect of your life, the same skills are applicable.
I'm Nakia DeVoe, and this is NB12 Weekend. Thanks for joining us this Saturday evening. Many have linked the increase in crime over the past few years to the downturn in the economy, but a new prison study conducted by the College of the Bahamas challenges that notion, revealing that more than half of the inmates surveyed were gainfully employed before entering Her Majesty's prison. Our Jasmine Bonamy has more in this report.
According to scholars behind that new COB study, their research shows that crime and unemployment may not be as closely linked as many may think. Researcher Michael Stevenson says the study included input from 247 inmates. He adds that the study, entitled The Economic Discourse and Criminality in the Bahamas, was released during a forum on criminality at COB's Oaksfield campus Thursday night. Stevenson says the study examined the relationship between inmates and how the economy played a role in their criminal activities. According to Stevenson, 31% said the economy alone was a reason behind their crimes. That's up from 28% reported in a 1998 inmate study.
What do we mean by an economic response? Where the inmate indicated any sort of level of material want or need, or registered any concern about the means of attaining material wants or needs, that was coded as an economic response.
But here's where it gets interesting. Stevenson says while many blamed economic reasons, they contradicted those reasons by revealing that they were employed, and gainfully so, when they committed their crimes. Stevenson says more than half of the inmates surveyed said they were generally satisfied with their jobs.
So in terms of employment status of the inmate, 59% of the surveyed population indicated that they were employed. Okay? This is pretty much consistent with Her Majesty's 2010 Bahamas Prison Background Profile Study of the sentenced and remanded inmate. That study found that 78% of the 1,151 inmates surveyed were employed before they were incarcerated. They went on to suggest in that report that inmates employed before their incarceration, quote, challenges the notion that unemployed individuals contribute to crime. 2% of inmates gave a positive response to the question, did your employment provide you with enough to live on? We also find another significant finding that 72% of the inmates who were employed said that their work or their job provided them with community respect. That can be generally looked at as a general level of job satisfaction amongst inmates who were employed prior to incarceration.
And while many were employed before their arrest, Stevenson says the study showed that inmates' lust for material things and a sense of inequality drove many of them to commit their crimes. Reporting for NB12, I'm Jasmine Bonamy.
Well, the economy is not the only factor that plays a role in crime in the Bahamas. According to another inmate study conducted by COB staff and students, social background is also a major contributor. The 2010 study, entitled An Analysis of the Social Background of Sentenced Inmates at Her Majesty's Prison, comprised of 84 questions and was administered to 336 inmates. According to lecturer at the School of Social Sciences Jessica Minnis, the social background of an inmate plays a huge role in their criminal decisions. Those social issues include education, peer association, and recreational activities.
They did use alcohol and drugs when they were growing up. They were a member of a gang. They participated in sports. They were not involved in community organization, but they also watched 10 to 12 hours of television daily and listened to music and played video games. They shared a lot of experiences together, but one group did not witness violence, were not they were abused, and they also were expelled from school.
Minnis adds that the study also revealed that not all inmates came from the same negative background. In fact, she says inmates were grouped in two categories. One of them with happy childhoods where the inmates did not witness abuse and were not abused during childhood. The other category is those with unhappy childhoods. The inmates with negative backgrounds included those with a public school education who dropped out early or were expelled. She added that 40% of inmates who committed crimes against the person were from single-parent homes, and 52% of inmates convicted for crimes against property came from single-parent homes. On the other hand, 44% of inmates with drug offenses came from a home with both parents.
From this, then, we were able to determine that not all inmates had an abusive kind of background, but they had an average kind of family background, which you would find and expect to see happening within the regular community.
Minnis adds that in the end, all inmates do not come from the same background, making addressing crime an even more difficult task. Well, in an ongoing effort to crack down on crime on the streets of New Providence, police launched 3 separate operations this week, resulting in the arrest of 16 men. 2 of the operations took place in the northeastern New Providence. In those operations, 5 men were arrested on outstanding warrants, 2 for housebreaking, 3 for causing harm, 1 for threats of harm, and 1 in reference to assault with a deadly weapon. The 3rd operation occurred in the area of West Bay Street. In that operation, 101 drivers were ticketed for various traffic violations. Police also arrested 4 men on outstanding warrants. Police and government officials have vowed to get even tougher on crime in recent months. Police began saturation patrols back in June and are expected to be even more effective with the addition of 26 new vehicles. And in other news, the Water and Sewage Corporation began its institutional strengthening in June. And once that is done and the corporation improves its customer service, it will look at increasing tariffs, something that hasn't been done in many years. In this next report, we take a look at WSC tariffs compared to the rest of the region. The current water rate for residential or domestic properties in New Providence is a minimum of $36 per 3,000 imperial gallons. The commercial and non-residential property rate is $60 per 3,000 gallons. Last month, Glenn LaVille gave a brief comparison of the corporation to other water utilities in the region.
We compared to about 7 of the islands in the Caribbean, but one of the unique things about Bahamas is that most of the water is now supplied by desalination, so you would expect the cost to be slightly higher.
Well, since that presentation, NB12 obtained a copy of the 2012 tariffs for different countries in the region. Out of the 21 places listed, New Providence has the 7th highest rate for domestic properties. Jamaica, Antigua, and Barbuda all have rates under $30. Barbados' rate is less than $20 per 3,000 imperial gallons. Grand Cayman, the British Virgin Islands, and the Turks and Caicos are the highest, with about $70, $105, and $120 per 3,000 imperial gallons, respectively. As for commercial and non-residential rates, the Bahamas has the 4th highest monthly water bill with just under $400 a month. The Cayman Islands averages $550 a month, the British Virgin Islands just over $700, and Anguilla just over $800 a month. LaVille says the corporation has had those rates for many years, but it will have to increase the tariffs in the near future.
The reality is that we don't even want to talk about increasing tariffs until we can show some level of service increase. And that is one of the things we want to do over the next couple of years. But right now, the tariffs that we charge do not recoup what our cost of service is. But we're about midway.
And if you're curious about the Family Islands, they have lower rates than New Providence, and they are much lower than most of the countries in the region.